5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And welcome to Omally Live on this, the 18th day of March, 2020. I want to thank everybody for joining. Whether you're watching live or in post, the number to contact the show is 234-650-4920. Or you can email us at o'mallysadventure@yahoo.com. Today on the podcast, I have Ivan McClay. He's been on the show before. He's a very accomplished wrestler, student, and now he is a coach. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's nice being here. Thanks for having me.
So, just a recap. He's if you go back, goodness, it's been what, 2 years, 3 years
Oh
since
yeah,
since you've been on last.
it's
Um,
been a minute.
you can check out that podcast if you don't know who he is and the things that he's done. But today we're going to talk a little bit about things that are past wrestling and some areas that we see the future of sort of economics in a sense going. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're going and your ideas as far as the future of, we'll just call it entrepreneur,
Right.
that type of world where it's heading.
So yeah, um, pretty much just kind of give you like the basis of where these ideas are coming from.
Okay.
Because like I grew up, like my generation, we grew up in a transition between what was and what is coming. So like what is coming is, I don't know, but we definitely know what it was. And like as I was growing up, like we started with pen and paper and we finished on a laptop.
Right.
Like that was my transition. So like my whole life experience has always been this is game changing, this is groundbreaking.
Right.
And like we hear all these things happen, like this is another game changing thing, this is another thing that's going to change humanity for the better. I've heard that so many times throughout my life, but I don't really see changes. And like I keep hearing all these changes, I keep seeing the effects of what is going to change, but I
Right.
can't really pinpoint what's happening. And that's pretty much the thought I've been running with for the last couple of years. Is just like, where are all these things going? Like, what is
Right.
to come?
Sure.
So I kind of start with kind of a buzzword that communism.
Communism, right?
Communism. I wanted to be really clear. Is I don't think communism is a practical method. I don't think communism will work in the real world. But when I say communism and communist communes, most people understand the idea behind that. You think of a small community, like
Right.
self-sufficient. Like people
Sure.
have an image to go with that. So I'm gonna use communism, just understand that like I don't think communism works.
Right.
Now that's with real world stuff. Now I do think a free system can work in the digital realm.
Sure.
Why? Is because it costs next to nothing to
Mm.
send digital information. And with a digital email, whatever, you can make X amount of dollars. Like potentially one email can make you a millionaire if you send the right email to the right person.
Sure.
So that's a huge game changer in itself right there. The fact that we can operate with free. Now free, I'm personally using it as a business model for my gym that I'm, in a process of building. But I feel like free is the next big marketing model, I guess you could say, and like not in the sense that we've had before, where you buy one, you get one free. You get a free phone, you pay for the service.
Right.
Before, free has always been a scam, where like you get it now, you pay later.
Right.
But what I'm talking about is actual freedom. Like you watch Hulu for free, or you pay to watch it without commercials. You play the game for free on your PlayStation, or you pay a little bit extra for the skins and whatever. Uh, you don't really pay for Amazon or Google, but at the same time, they're making millions and billions of dollars.
Sure.
So free as a business model can definitely work. And since Amazon and Google are not only I want to say the couple of the richest companies in the world, but like on that chart of lists and things, they're probably some of the youngest. So that to me is a huge, like, I don't know, red flag is the right word, but like that is something I take notice of when a huge corporation comes out of nowhere and takes over everything. Because
Right.
rich people don't like losing money, they don't like losing power.
Right.
So when that happens, like there's something going on. Now, that's its own little pin right there. free.
Right.
Now the next one over here, I'm thinking is internet,
Right.
but the internet connects anyone to anywhere. It
Right.
makes anywhere in the world valuable. Like internet is game changing because it offers all these opportunities I don't have to tell you. But what that does, in my opinion, is makes any land valuable. What I mean by that, as long as you can get to it and as long as you can get internet to it, you can make profit from it. Like the only reason you can't is because you can't live there. Like
Right.
for some reason you can't get food.
Right.
Other than that, you should be able to bring in money. But I could keep talking. Go ahead.
No, I would take that a step further and say that anywhere, not just space, but any area that you can supply internet to,
Mm-hmm.
be it physical space or virtual space. Um, there's the possibilities there would be endless as far as making money.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's face it, a website other than on a computer screen doesn't really exist.
Yes.
But that same website can make you just as much money as a warehouse or a store.
Exactly.
So um, with that, the I came back, gone back a little bit further, from an age where um, people that worked in radio or in TV, they went to college, they worked their whole lives to get to, a certain level. Where
Right.
right now, you and I, with a couple computers and an internet connection, we can give the same quality, same sound, same everything,
Sometimes
and
even better.
right, and sometimes better, and we don't pay any licensing to the FCC.
It's
You
cheaper
know,
not to.
it's exactly, and I think so. When you talk about free, and then the cost of it of doing free is next to nothing. Um, the only doors that are closed are the ones you're really not willing to open. I mean, you can do any of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see as far as new businesses go and growth. Um, like you said, unless there's a place where you can't get food, and those places with technology now pretty much don't exist.
Yeah, like where
Um,
can't you fly a drone?
right, exactly. And you know, you look at speaking of drones, you take a person like Elon Musk, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and he's changed single-handedly a lot of different, a lot of people that aren't old enough don't realize he was one of the guys that developed PayPal,
Yes.
right?
Back when he
Um,
was losing his hair. It came back when he got money.
right. And what's crazy is, um, and I think we're going to move into a topic here soon about uh, finances. Is back in the mid to late 90s when people were going to start paying for things digitally, there was a lot of people that said I would never pay for anything over the internet because it's not secure.
Right. That's how it used to be for the longest time.
Right.
But
So
uh,
now today there are different types of payments, and now there's even different types of currency.
yes, there's
So
so many different avenues to pay someone. And you bring up a really good topic because I've really been looking into Bitcoin and blockchain technology.
right,
Uh, for those of you who do not know what Bitcoin and blockchain technology is, Bitcoin is pretty much like money, but just in a digital form. So there is never a physical Bitcoin. There's always a digital trail to a Bitcoin. So like I virtually send you an email and it has money in it. Pretty much that's the idea behind it.
right,
Now, up until a certain point, up until like I actually researched this stuff, I always thought like exactly what you just said. Like the digital realm is full of risks and holes. Like putting your money on it is just throwing your money in a well and hoping that you can fish it back out.
right,
So that's how I used to think about it. But the thing that they've done is with like blockchain technology, if they've actually used not only the digital programming, but the physical limitations of the software in the security programming itself. So what I mean by that is say the limitations of the software, whatever, allow you to run the computer X amount of fast. You know, you can do this amount of megabytes, kilobytes, whatever the measurement is. You can go
right,
this fast. Like a really easy example people can think of is opening more tabs on your computer. Like eventually, your computer just doesn't open more tabs; it starts breaking down.
Right.
And the same thing goes for this blockchain technology. The security in its the value in its security is in its firmware. Now, what a blockchain is a bunch of computers connected together that are always talking to each other. Now, all these computers have the same program, and all these programs have the same pretty much running receipt, I guess you could call it.
Mm-hmm.
So every time you buy something with a digital coin, it marks it on the receipt, and then it sends the coin to the next person, and then like all the receipts on this blockchain get that same little tally on the receipt mark, So
Right.
like 10 computers, 20, I don't know how many computers, but like all these computers have a copy of your receipt. Now, why this is important? Because you can definitely hack one computer, not easily, but it can be done.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the ingenuity of this is the fact that you have to hack all the computers at the same time, because if you hack one and then go to the next, well, all the computers are talking to each other, so they self-correct. It's
Right.
like this one doesn't match. It says you have money, but all the other ones say it doesn't. Well, this half says it does, this half says it doesn't. It always self-corrects because it has what it knows and then what changed from that.
Right.
Does it make sense?
Yep.
So you can hack it, you can hack one, you can hack two, but you would have to hack them all at the same time, at the same speed. And because of the limitations of the firmware, you'll fry the computers trying to do that.
Right.
Does it make sense?
Yes.
So it's a multi-step process. You hack one computer, step A, step B, step C. By the time you get to step C, all the computers realized they're being hacked.
So, just thinking outside the box
Mm-hmm.
and looking at cyber warfare,
Yes.
there would have to be some type of system put in place to sort of safeguard these, because if
The
a cert
safeguard.
the computers themselves,
Okay. Yeah, you're right. You're 100% right.
because you some being that that technology is developing, somebody's already thinking 2 steps ahead. I'm
Yes.
I'm going to create something that will hack these computers all at the same time.
Yes, and I have the answer for you
Okay.
in two instances. So the
Okay.
first one is they can always have the option of putting a physical chip into the computer
Mm-hmm.
and not necessarily hacking in that instance, but setting a trap to allow hacking maybe later, or it's possible with actual physical access to computers.
Right.
Like over the digital realm is near impossible. The reason why I say is near impossible is because quantum computers are becoming a thing. Give me a
Right.
sec. But you can hack one of them with the digital thing, but
Right.
you still would have to have access to all of them. So like in theory, you would have to plug in a USB to all the computers, all the servers. Now, the second option to hack them all at the same time is the quantum computer, which they have the technology in theory for already. So, a quantum computer, what that is in a line of code. Like you have ones and zeros, right? It has a
Sure.
one, it has a zero, and depending on what it is, it does things.
Right.
What a quantum computer does is actually, instead of having a one or a zero, it puts them together. So
Okay.
it can be a one and a zero or a zero. So it offers the ability to do multiple equations at the same time.
Okay.
Now, to kind of put perspective how amazing this is they guessed, theorized, whatever, I don't know, computed, that it takes around 300 quantum bits. So every 1 0 together is a quantum bit. It
Right.
takes 300 of those to, in theory, calculate every atom in a universe.
Okay.
So that's with 300. Now, today, as of last time I checked the news, we can do a couple quantum bits individually.
Right.
So we can make a 1 and a 0 happen at the same time, but we cannot, is not controlled, and we can't do more than one.
Right.
Or not, I wouldn't say more than one, but we can't do a lot of them together and acting together. So for a code to work, all the pieces have to work, 1 to 0 to 1 to 0. We
Right.
can't make them work together, but we can make a lot of ones and zeros. You know,
Right.
I don't know how to explain that. But
So
go ahead.
I wonder, because right now, I mean, I know people that have invested in Bitcoin,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a couple others that are sort of popular. But
Yes, there's hundreds of them.
I'm wondering, are they going to leave the currencies separate? Like, there's pesos in
Hmm.
Mexico, and the euros in Europe, and dollars in America, or would they shift to one type of currency, one name,
And that's
and not have any type of exchange rate?
no, and like I've really been thinking about that too. Like I see Bitcoin and all these things becoming a huge topic, but like what happens to the old money? And like I've really been like
Right.
kind of trying to figure out what is happening with that. And like my so far what I've come to is kind of like what China's using for their money system. So right now I feel like China is beating everyone in the world, especially US in every any future endeavors.
Sure.
But what they're doing with their money is quite unique is they're actually using a dual circulation system. So they're actually incorporating digital currency into their economy
Right.
as well as the physical coin, and they're phasing out physical coins in favor of digital currency. So they're actually adding incentives to businesses like tax reductions, no fees, all these things to go to the digital age. Because I feel like China is betting on the digital Bitcoin take off, and
Sure.
I feel like they see the value in it.
Well,
So,
well,
but
something they've done too, digitally, that um, sort of parallels money, is in China, like in the United States, if you're going to buy a car, they check your credit score,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yes,
In China, with everything moving digital, they have a social credit score,
and that's scary.
and so where they're leading in the innovation, I don't want to say it's reckless, but if everything was digital monetarily and your social credit score doesn't meet a certain standard, they can make you broke with keystrokes.
Right.
you know,
And you don't even know it. You're having a good old day. You're buying ice cream for your girl.
right? Um, and I think paying attention to what China's doing, because they are it. If you look at the innovation now,
It's
I
scary.
I will say this: a lot of it's stolen. I mean, let's face it, intellectual property and theft of ideas happens in certain areas more than others.
Hmm.
But watching how things play out in China, I
Hmm.
believe would be it would behoove people to watch that and say, okay, look, this is where things are maybe gone sideways.
Hmm.
If we're going to go that way, maybe we tweak it or change it a little bit, because when you look at those two being parallel, um, especially in 2021, you can see where that could be abused by a government or a power.
Definitely. And for the longest time, I thought the world was just going to end. Like, all these changes, I'm like, there's no way this is going in a positive direction.
Right.
And like, I just got done reading, well, not just probably like a couple months ago, but I read George Orwell's
1984.
yeah, 1984 for the first time.
Right.
And like,
Good book.
yeah, it's a really good book. I was hoping for a happy ending.
I was.
But um, after reading that, I was like, yeah, for sure, the world's ending. I see
Right.
so many resemblance between this book and what's happening in the real world.
Sure.
And for a long time, I was stuck on that. I even started investing stocks in it. I was like, I'm buying ammo stocks and Colt 45